Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're unpacking something absolutely crucial in psychology, Lawrence Kohlberg's stages of moral development. You can almost think of this framework as the underlying operating system for human interaction. It's a fascinating look at how we become who we are, and really how we figure out our place in the world. If you've ever found yourself wondering why, say, our leaders make completely baffling choices, or why kids lie, or even why we feel this sudden, profound outrage at an injustice, well, Kohlberg's theory gives us the map to decode all of that. It helps us understand the people around us and ultimately ourselves. But before we get into the actual mechanics of Kohlberg's theory, we really have to tackle a massive question. How do societal rules actually shape our behavior? I mean, think about it for a second. We aren't born knowing the laws of our country or the unspoken social norms of our neighborhood. Picture a toddler just grabbing a toy from another kid. In that exact moment, they have literally zero concept of ownership or fairness or theft. They just see the toy and they want it. But fast forward 15 years, and that exact same person might be passionately debating the ethics of digital piracy or corporate fraud. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we actually learn right from wrong? It's honestly one of the greatest mysteries of human behavior, how these abstract external concepts like justice actually get inside our heads and start dictating what we do every single day. Well, Kohlberg answers this by looking at what he calls moral development. And he defines this very specifically. He says it's a complicated process involving the acceptance of the values and rules of society in a way that shapes behavior. I really want you to notice the emphasis on the word complicated there, because morality isn't just some passive idea you just sort of stumble upon, or a biological switch that magically flips when you hit a certain age. No, it's a highly active, genuinely messy, and complicated process that happens over years of trial and error. It's about pushing boundaries, getting scolded, feeling guilt, seeing the hypocrisies of adults, and slowly piecing together a worldview. It's a constant, dynamic negotiation between you and the society you live in. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it splits this definition into two very distinct interactive parts. Over on the left side, we've got the acceptance of society's values and rules, right? That's the internal part, the observing, the learning, the absorbing of your culture. And then on the right side, we see that it shapes behavior. There is a remarkably clear, powerful cause and effect relationship happening here. To put this into a real-world perspective, think about the value of honesty. It's one thing to internally accept the rule that stealing is wrong, but the real, tangible test of moral development is when you find a wallet with $500 in cash inside and absolutely nobody is looking. Internalizing that societal rule directly alters your physical actions in the real world, compelling you to go and hand that wallet over to the police. It moves from internal thought straight to external, measurable action. But that brings up another problem. How do we actually measure something so deeply internal and subjective? Well, Kohlberg didn't want to just leave morality as some purely philosophical debate. Actually, he treated it almost like architecture. He wanted to map out the exact blueprint of our moral compass, starting from the ground up. By observing how people of all different ages responded to moral dilemmas, he realized something huge. Human morality actually possesses a highly structured, measurable framework. He discovered that the way we justify our actions evolves in a very specific, totally predictable pattern throughout our entire lives. To really grasp this architecture, Kohlberg defined three strict structural rules that govern his entire theory. First, moral development is classified in a series of distinct levels and behaviors. Second, it's sequential. And third, it cannot be skipped. Let's just focus on that first rule for a second. Morality isn't just a volume dial that you turn up as you get older. It's divided into distinct qualitative levels. Think about it. A young kid who avoids hitting their brother purely because they don't want a timeout is operating on a completely different level of moral reasoning than an adult who's protesting an unjust law because it violates universal human rights. On the surface, sure, both are technically following a rule, but the cognitive operating system driving that behavior, fundamentally different. Let's move to and see how this builds. Think of this sequential progression like climbing a ladder. Step 1, you fully experience a specific level and behavior. Step 2, you progress sequentially to the next rung. Step 3, you never skip ahead. What's absolutely vital to grasp here is the immense psychological effort of this climb. You can't just casually step up to the next rung whenever you feel like it. You have to completely master and inhabit the moral reasoning of your current stage. It's only when the logic of your current stage completely fails to solve a new complex social problem that your worldview begins to break down and reorganize itself. It literally requires a fundamental shift in cognitive perspective before your brain can even comprehend the logic of the next rung up. So, the crucial point is this. Stages or levels of moral development cannot be skipped. This is the massive aha moment of Kohlberg's research. It's the absolute, uncompromising law of this developmental journey. And the implications of this rule, they're massive, especially when we look at society as a whole. It means you simply cannot artificially fast forward someone's moral development. Think about the friction we experience every day in parenting or education or, man, even politics. You cannot successfully explain abstract, universal human rights to someone who is currently operating at a developmental level of what's in it for me or am I going to get punished? They literally lack the cognitive framework to parse that advanced logic. Everyone, no matter how smart or highly educated they are, has to walk the exact same path of moral reasoning, step by step. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. If moral stages cannot be skipped, where are you on the climb? It's a pretty fascinating thing to reflect on, right? This framework isn't just some tool for judging the behavior of other people. It's a mirror. It helps us understand our very own moral blind spots. Because we are all on this unskippable progression, constantly absorbing society's values, facing weird new ethical dilemmas, and adjusting our behaviors as we grow. I really hope this deep dive into the architecture of Kohlberg's theory gives you a brand new, highly practical lens to view your own journey and the journeys of the people around you. So keep climbing, keep questioning your own reasoning, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.